By now you're probably wondering where all of this is going. What's the point of alternate approaches to scales and counterpoint? Well, they're a nice precursor to looking at alternate ways to approach harmony. Traditionally, chords are constructed by stacking thirds. Root third fifth, add the seventh, add the ninth, and again in bass clef. We all know it and love it, but it can leave a bit to be desired at times. Since we've all grown up with triadic harmony, it can sound a little stale and uninspired. So how do we get away from that? Well, we can stack other intervals to form different vertical sonorities. That's how. The most common alternate chords are quartal chords, which are based on stacked perfect fourths, and quintal chords, which are based on stacked perfect fifths. Let me play you some example of the quartal chords using what would be the equivalent of a triad, seventh and ninth chords. I will play these first in the treble and then in the bass register. So those are just stacked perfect fourths. They have a nice open sound when voiced in this manner, but they can also be spaced out even further to get an even more open sound, or revoiced into a close position that will add some interesting crunch to the chord. Let me show you some quintal chords now. These are the same thing, except I'm stacking perfect fifths. Again, I'm going to start on the treble clef and then go down into the bass clef register. These have even more of a open sound, so to speak. But getting back to that idea of having a large displacement of octaves to make up the chord or to play them in closed position, let me show you exactly what I mean. This is going to be rather interesting. I'm going to start by playing a quartal chord on A and then a quintal chord on B flat. Take a look at what happens when I play them in open and closed position. You'll notice that even though I've started the quartal chord on A and the quintal chord on B flat, they have a lot of similar pitch content. This is because the perfect fourth and the perfect fifth are inversions of each other, and thus they will share a lot of common tones. In some cases, this can be a really useful technique for modulating using quartal and quintal chords. And As you can see, if I start the quartal chord on C, the pitch content is vastly, vastly different from a quintal B flat. This idea of inversion and shared content is a good reason why quartal and quintal chords are more interesting than, say, stacking 6. If I stack 6 starting on a D, I get D, B, and G. Just a good old G major chord in second inversion. Not super interesting. Similarly, the worst intervals to stack when creating new chords are tritones, which will take you to the octave really quickly. There's 2 tritones right on top. Wow. And minor thirds, which create the tritone and then take you back to the octave. After pushing you through a fully diminished 7th chord. This isn't anything you couldn't do in normal triadic harmony, and you'll just get a standard chord. Of course, you don't have to stack the same interval to create new chords. The best ones tend to mix different intervals. For now, though, we're going to stay with quartal and quintal chords as a replacement to standard triads. But on your own, I encourage you to play around and see what you can come up with.